Welcome, everyone, to our session that Delbir and I have sort of framed as a community conversation. So in our workshop yesterday on supporting students in reflective writing, we had kind of more talking points on our own end of things while also trying to make it interactive for you. Although the plan today really is to sort of hand the reins over to you to give you a chance to brainstorm, to think about what's important to you in community and relationship building, and to chat with each other about some of the things that we'd like to see happen over the coming semester and years.
Okay, so access check. We'd like to do an access check. And this is something also that you can incorporate in your courses as well, or your sessions. So we understand access is a shared responsibility between everyone in this space. Our goal is to strive for an inclusive and accessible space that reduces the need for anyone to unwillingly disclose a disability or impairment for the purposes of gaining an accommodation. We want to be mindful about distinguishing between formal accommodation, which can be sometimes a very difficult process to navigate, and access needs, which we all bring to our spaces from a variety of social locations. In doing this work together, we strive to welcome disability and the changes it brings into our space. If you have an access need that we have not addressed, or you notice a barrier that doesn't directly impact your engagement, but may impact that of others, please feel free to bring it to our attention via whatever channel you prefer. And we're all learning how to be more inclusive, so don't shy away from that.
Thanks, Delbir. So my name, for those of you I haven't had the chance yet to meet, my name is Mandy Penny, and my pronouns are she and her. And I'm the lead educational developer for digital pedagogies and writing across the curriculum at CTL. I am a cis, queer, and white settler, and I join all of you from a geographical remove to the physical campuses of the University of Alberta. And so I live and work on the traditional lands of the Anishinaabe, the Haudenosaunee, the Lenape-Wauk, and the Attawandaron peoples. And the city that I live in is governed by the London Township Treaty of 1796, or what we colonially call London, Ontario. Delbir?
Yeah, I'm Delbir Sembi, and this is a picture of me and my wife at the mountains, believe it or not. And I'm working from Treaty 6 territory. I think that's pretty much the main thing that I work from. In terms of my pronouns, I've been called every pronoun by my kids. So I don't know, whatever you want to say. Although typically he works well, and I also like to be an ally and use they.
Great. And I've just mentioned in the chat that if anyone would like to share in the chat where they're from and the traditional lands on which they reside, please feel free to do so there. Before we dive into a few kind of deeper reflective activities for everyone, kind of culminating in some breakout conversations, we just wanted to get a sense of the words that people might associate with positive, equitable classroom communities. So when we think about the ideal kinds of relationships and communities that we want to build in our classrooms between and with our students, what are the words that we associate with that? So I am just going to quickly put in the URL for Mentimeter, which is www.menti.com. And then I'm going to have everyone use this numeric code when you go there. So that's www.menti.com. And the code is 26915350. And I'm also going to grab a hyperlink if that is easier for anyone. If you just click on this, it'll take you straight to where you can input the words that you would associate. Great. So we have some responses coming in. I see equality, awareness, flexible, welcome, supportive, interacting. This is all really great stuff. Awareness, autonomy is really important here, that our ideal classroom spaces should be compassionate and warm and understanding, welcoming of a diversity of opinions. Awesome. Please feel free to go ahead and keep entering your words in there. I just wanted to share a little bit of the context that really kind of grew our idea for this particular session. Delbir and I are quite new to the CTL team, although Delbert is not new to the University of Alberta. And much of our work in digital and writing pedagogies has really come out of our own reflections and conversations about what we have seen emerge as really important and pressing conversations over the last 2.5 years. And so when I think back to that initial switch to online kind of emergency remote learning back in March of 2020, the key questions that people were asking were not as much about content and curriculum as they were about how to reach out, how to engage, how to support their students and each other as colleagues. And so as a part of our portfolio and our work that we want to do with all of you at the University of Alberta, we're really interested in thinking about the ways that these conversations about building community and relationships within our classrooms and beyond should be as sort of high on the priority list as our conversations about curricular programmatic planning and learning outcomes and so on, that these things go hand in hand. And I think what I've seen as I've watched my colleagues' presentations is that there is always an element of community and relationship building in all of these conversations, whether we're talking about how we enact change, different structures for making decisions about sort of larger decisions within institutions and departments, when we're talking about indigenization and decolonization, whether we're talking about reflection. So what we're going to do, first of all, for about 10 minutes, is we're going to give you some time to reflect individually in an anonymous Padlet. So your responses will be visible to each other, but they will not have your names attached. And there are a series of questions that you can work your way through over these 10 minutes that you may end up taking with you into the breakout rooms afterwards. Delbert, did you want to take folks through these questions?
Yeah, definitely. So, and this is anonymous, remember, so just feel free to just let loose. I should mention, by the way, this is the Padlet. Earlier we did the Menti, and every time I hear the word Menti, I keep thinking of those Mentos commercials, the fresh maker, you know what I'm talking about. But anyway, Padlet. What are some pre-2020 teaching practices you had that you now question or do not use? First question. You only have 10 minutes, so maybe you won't get through all the questions, but work through as many as you can. Second one, what are some teaching practices from 2020 onwards that you'd like to keep or develop further? Because this has been a time of experimentation and we've all been learning, something you want to take forward with you. You might want to think about that and add that first things that come into your mind. What does a positive or successful classroom community look like to you? This is something to think about before COVID, after COVID, in the future, 20, 30 years from now. What is one way you nurture relationships and community with your students? Another very important issue, especially was raised during online learning, but now we move to hybrid and in-person spaces. Again, it's still very important. What is one challenge you experience when it comes to building relationships and community with your students? You can do more than one challenge. I know I have frequent challenges with building relationships with communities and community with students. And so a challenge doesn't have to necessarily be an insurmountable hurdle and a mission impossible. Or it could be, because it might feel that way. But if you watch those Mission Impossible movies, it usually solves the missions. So we'll try to help each other figure out ways that we can overcome these challenges when you go through these anonymous reflections. So please share. Take some time now to reflect.
And we'll give you about 10 minutes unless we see responses slowing down, in which case we would do a check-in perhaps a little bit sooner. From here, you'll have the opportunity to move into breakout rooms to do some more brainstorming together. This is great. I love it, Delbert, when I also taught in the classroom, writing and communication classes primarily, when I would have students engaging in inksheding and responding to each other in writing and just watching these conversations unfold without anybody actually speaking a word aloud. It's just really interesting to me.
Yeah, it's a outgrowth of the last couple of years, right? Like the way that we've had to adjust classroom space because we're not on site or in person, and you need to find other ways to get people to participate. So yeah, I wonder if we're going to take some of these practices with us as we move into coming back into the classrooms.
So I'm just going to share a link to a collaborative Google document that Delbir and I created for today's session. And Delbir is going to take you through our intent in creating this document and how you might use it, as well as the activity we'll move into in just a moment.
Right. So one of the ways that we're approaching our work here is to build community and to share resources, to bring all of our minds together, kind of like the hive mind mentality, the idea that all of us working together can lead towards solutions, towards change at the university. You know, when we speak of the university as an institution, often we give it a sort of like faceless, make it a faceless entity. But we are that institution, and if there's issues with the institution, we can change it. Like we are the people here that can adjust the way the university functions. And one way that we want to challenge the traditional way of using the university space is all the siloing that can happen between different faculties and departments, and even within departments between different. You can be teaching the same classes but never meet your co-instructors and so on. So hopefully this type of document, which you can click in the link, will get you not only to share your ideas with others, but also as a way for you to meet people and to maybe connect afterwards if you have similar sort of issues or challenges or ways that you want to problem solve. And that's what we're going to do with our Google document today, and with the different tasks that we've done otherwise. Oh, it says it indicates that we need access. What's happening? Let me check.
I believe that folks do have to be logged in with their University of Alberta credentials. So with your CCID, I believe it is set to only folks with U of A. Denise is sharing in the chat that Denise has been able to log in. I'll just repost that link so it's more recent. And is saying still no access. Interesting. Okay, just give me one moment here. I'm going to see if I can fix that for everyone really quickly.
Okay, as Mandy's working on that, I'll explain what our idea is behind this task. And the idea basically is that you're going to be moved into breakout rooms. And in those breakout rooms, you'll be working in little groups. So take a moment to introduce yourself and then work on the task, which is there's a section 1 column where you'll see sustainable things to try in the fall, key questions remaining about community building and how to build community with other educators. There's those 3 different columns for each group. Each group should have 1 note taker, so we don't have hundreds of people fingers typing into the same doc, which can be a bit annoying. So instead, have 1 group note taker per group, and everyone will have access, hopefully, to this document. And Mandy's ironing out that issue. Does the instructions make sense? And Mandy, do you think it's okay to start the breakout rooms now?
I think so. So we do have everyone, I think, now has access according to what I'm seeing in the chat. So the table in section 1 is organized by breakout room number. You'll decide on someone to take notes for the conversation. And then the 3 prompts are right in the table for you. Sustainable things to try in the fall, key questions that you have within the group about how to build community in the classroom, and how we might build community with other educators, particularly at the U of A. Thank you so much to everyone for joining us. We deliberately set this up as to be quite a short session to try and demonstrate some of the ways that we can engage with our students that are low stakes, and give people an opportunity to sort of think and then get together and share some of their ideas. And collaborative documents are something that Delbir and I have both used in our own teaching practices with students, because there's not always time for an entire group to come back together in class or online to share the conversations that were coming out. And this way, everyone has kind of a nice record of some of the things that were discussed and things that can spark kind of future conversations, work, or research. We've included some resources on the document for you as well in section 2 on community building in the classroom. And in the final section, section 3, we've added an optional contact information table. I know sometimes in these kinds of sessions and at conferences, we can be put into breakout rooms with folks we've not met before. And then, you know, the conversation is really interesting, but then you get that 30-second warning, oh no, they're closing. And so if you are interested in being reachable to the other participants in the session and or hope to connect with someone else, by all means, please feel free to include your email in that table. And we will leave this document open to all of you who were in this session with us so that you can access it. You can also feel free to add resources of your own if you know of anything that's out there in the world that can be helpful to others in building community and relationships. I'd also like to just briefly share that Dalbir and I this summer did our first run of what we're calling Communities of Practicing Care, which is a semester-long opportunity for faculty and other instructors to get together in small groups every 2 weeks for an hour or so to talk about some of these kinds of issues related to community and accessibility and indigenization and equity. And for us in particular, how those speak to the teaching and learning of writing, and also how that impacts how we think about digital technologies and digital pedagogies in the classroom. And so I am putting the link up here in the chat for anyone who's interested. The sign-up sheet will be running until the end of this week. And if you're interested, there's just a Google form and we will reach out to you from there. Dalbir?
Yeah, we're almost out of time here, but what we've been doing is trying to model community building, and CTL, the whole team here is here to help you with your courses, with whatever needs you have. And one way that we're hoping to do this in this session and via CTL is by fostering a sense of community building through activities such as this, but also just through contact, through community of practice and care, the kitchen table talks that are coming up. And anytime you want to consult with the CTL team, that's also another way we can build community and support and cooperative teaching and learning. And I just got a message from Kristen saying that she's not able to edit. So if some of you might be having trouble editing in the Google Docs, so we'll have to check into that, Mandy, make sure everybody can edit to add their contact info. So hopefully we'll fix that up soon. But yeah, this has been great. It's been great to see you adding your responses to the Google Doc. And remember, take the Google Doc with you, keep it, develop it, and connect with others and connect with us.
Thank you so much for being here. I hope everyone has a great rest of your day.